Okay, welcome everyone to Cascade Natural Gas's Energy Efficiency Conservation Advisory Group. This is the Q4 meeting held, as we know, on October 23rd today. My name is Caleb Reimer. I'm the Program Manager for Cascade's Energy Efficiency Program, State of Washington. I'm going to start us off with a safety moment, then we'll get into a roll call for all those that are attending. Safety moment this morning, I think it's a nice one, nice reminder. It's fishing safety. And I found this interesting graphic online that I thought walked through some ways to not get hooked by some phishing attempts. First one it lists out is one, be cautious. Be careful when using the email and clicking on links or opening any attachments. Make sure you're diligent looking at who it's coming from and if it does make sense and if you are expecting that message in particular. Another one that's listed out is spelling errors. Oftentimes the hope of casting a wide net to trick some unsuspecting people or people who just still have some sand in their eyes, aren't quite looking out for phishing attempts that early in the morning, for example. The next one is step 3 is take urgent action. If you do make a mistake or if you do see a phishing attempt, make sure to take the appropriate action for yourself or your company. Make sure you verify links. You can hover over them to make sure that it's actually taking you to the correct URL, not just an edited URL. The other things you can do is look towards the from address. Sometimes the from will be from an email that looks very similar to what you're expecting, but it's not identical, transposing some letters, that sort of thing. So be cautious with that. And then also think about personal information. My opinion is personal information should be kept personal. So sharing it, you should always be really cautious. Use secure servers, those sorts of things. If you do need to share it, oftentimes email is not the best way to go about that. All right, now I'll ask Des, if you may, to lead this slide.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So I will do roll call in a moment. First, I'd like to go over the Q3 action items. There was only one, and it was to follow up with Byron Harmon at the WUTC on learnings from Impact EM&V study of incentive levels. So Cascade shared with Byron relevant information and studies via email. So that's the only action we had. So now I'm going to start going through the roll call, and I will start with the list I have. So let's start with Erin Savati. I hope I said that right.
You said it perfectly. Thank you so much. Erin Savati here with Brilliant. Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you, Erin. Jody.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jody. I'm with Cascade. I'm their economic analyst for the energy efficiency team.
Thank you, Jody. Alex Corneglio.
Yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex, also here with Brilliant.
Thank you, Alex. Jacinda.
Good morning. My name is Jacinda Ashby. I'm with CNGC and IGC, and I am a process specialist.
Thank you, Jacinda. And Brett Shearer.
Yeah, I'm Brett Shearer from Public Counsel Unit in Washington State.
Welcome and thank you, Brett. Carrie.
Good morning, everyone. Carrie Guerin. I'm the Program Delivery Supervisor for Cascade Energy Efficiency.
Thank you, Carrie. Brian Farnsworth.
Yes, good morning. Brian Farnsworth. I'm Program Manager with Cascade Natural Gas Commercial Industrial Conservation Incentive Program.
Thank you, Brian. And Juan Diego Gonzalez, who also goes by Wandy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Juan Diego Gonzalez, and I work with Cascade Natural Gas, helping with outreach.
Thank you, Wandy. Byron Harmon.
Good morning. As the slide suggests, I'm from the Washington Utility and Transportation Commission. Happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. John Landowski.
Hi, good morning. John Landowski. I'm the Digital Director at Focused on Energy Program, Aptum, here to listen in on the Brilliant portion of the presentation.
Wonderful, thank you. And Leonardo Zimmer.
Hello, I'm Leonardo Zimmer. I'm with Brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonardo. Sheila?
Sheila McElhinney, Cascade Natural Gas Senior Analyst. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. I'm probably really going to mess this one up. Okay. Nishant Sanghavi? Did I say that right?
You did well. You did
Thank
better
you.
than you did better than my own colleagues. So that's saying something. Nishan Sangvi here with Brilliant. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Noemi.
Good morning, everyone. Noemi Ortiz, Energy Efficiency Programs Manager for Cascade.
Thank you, Noemi. And Peter Crystalite?
Hi, good morning. Peter Crystalite from NIA. I'm the Senior Manager of Corporate Strategy and Stakeholder Relations. Happy to be here.
Thank you, Peter. We're happy to have you. David?
Hi, everyone. My name is David Pettit. I am the Program Performance Analyst for Cascade's Energy Efficiency Program.
Thank you, David. Stephanie?
Good morning, Stephanie Reed, Energy Efficiency West Program Delivery Specialist.
Thank you, Stephanie. And of course, Caleb.
Yeah, morning, everyone. I'm Caleb Reimer, manager of the Energy Efficiency Program for Cascade in Washington.
Thank you, Caleb. Brian Robertson.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Brian Robertson, manager of supply resource planning with Cascade.
Thank you, Brian. And Shaylee Stokes.
Good morning, Shay Stokes, she, her, and I'm director of the Energy Project.
Welcome, Shaylee. Sonia.
Good morning, I'm Sonia Wald, manager of customer systems for Cascade.
Thank you, Sonia. And Quinn Weber.
Quinn Weber with the Washington Utilities and Transportation Commission.
Thank you, Quinn. And of course, myself, Desiree Bickmore, and I go by Des, and I'm with the Energy Efficiency Department. I can always mess up my title, Consumer Specialist. So, welcome everybody, and I will go ahead and hand it over to Caleb, and happy y'all could join. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again. And I say the same. Thanks everyone for being here and joining this meeting. As a reminder, these advisory group meetings, opportunity for us to share updates on the program, what we've been working on. But more importantly, in my opinion, it's an opportunity to ask questions, provide some input or thoughts, or opportunities for us to look at in the future. I think that's one of the greatest collaborative parts of these meetings here. And to get started, we'll actually be looking at some of our low-income weatherization program updates. That team's got conflicting meetings, so we're going to start with that section first. Let me share my slide here, and then I believe I'll be passing it over to Noemi and Sheila.
Yeah, thank you, Caleb. I will let Sheila cover this portion of the slide, and I'll cover the last ones.
Okay. Well, as you can see, our cumulative results from 2024, we've got 45 projects completed. We have saved 11,000 therms, so the projects are coming in with a higher yield of therms per project. And you can see the range is actually quite huge. We went from $985 to almost $52,000. And the average number of measures per project also has increased. That's why I was talking about the therms. So that's just a quick summary of the work that's been completed thus far in 2024. Does anyone have any questions, or is there anything you'd like to discuss about these results? Hearing no questions. You want me to take this one, Noemi, too?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, this is just a summary of the memorandum of understandings that we have in place with the agencies that are participating in Washington. And we just like to keep them honest. So we say how many homes we're going to do at the beginning of the year, and then we keep track of what's going on. And as you can see, Housing Authority of Skagit County has exceeded its estimate, and that's no problem. Everybody else is trying to close out jobs now. So that's what we have. We were scheduled, I mean, they said we could do about 105 homes, and we've done about 47. So if I were to estimate, I'd say we probably have maybe 65 by the end of the year. Questions, comments? Anyone? Very good.
I just had a quick question. Compared to last year, was this better than last year? I mean, it looks like it is.
Last year we had we done a large Sunnyside Housing Authority multifamily low-income weatherization, and it was actually work that Noemi had done and got everything teed up, and that resulted in a higher number than we usually have. So last year we actually had 124 projects in total, but you know, about 80 of those, well, yeah, about, I can't remember the exact number of units, but that was a large portion of what we completed last year, and that was more than we'd ever done. So
okay,
unless we get another multifamily, it's unlikely we would break 100 this year. But yeah, thanks for asking.
Well, thank you.
We're doing. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you, Sheila. So just a quick update. We have, and we'll have a meeting here shortly with our agencies, all of our agencies in Washington for this weatherization incentive proposal. So just wanted to give a high level overview to the CAG. We did send out a revision earlier last month. However, we've had a second draft since then, but wanted the opportunity to have our agencies review before we brought it back to the CAG and collect final input. So we will be having a stakeholder meeting after our all agency meeting, which will include just other partner utilities such as Avista, Northwest Natural Pacific Power, commission staff, the Energy Project, NUEC, and then the Department of Commerce. And then it could be other individuals that we think of and we haven't noted yet, along with our agencies. So a brief overview on this proposal. We're currently looking at, we're seeking to add third-party implementers to our weatherization incentive program. We've seen a significant increase in referrals, internal referrals from our CARES program, roughly 760 over the last year. And it's actually a little under a year that we've seen all of these referrals come in. We have worked to send these over to each agencies, depending on where the referral is coming from. However, you saw the numbers in the previous slide. We are a little bit behind on production. This recommendation and this proposal coming to the agencies and other stakeholders is not to take away funding or even project allocation to the community action agencies. It's simply to add third-party implementers to supplement what we're currently seeing with these referrals. So the agencies will continue to serve as many projects as they're able to. As Sheila noted, the agencies note their targets each year. They submit a memorandum of understanding each year, and they let us know how many projects they can complete. That'll continue as is. The agencies will have first right of refusal for these projects. meaning we'll continue to do our referrals. If agencies aren't able to fulfill those projects, they will come back and we will, if the proposal is accepted, they will come back to third-party implementers to then serve the outstanding customers that we're seeing. I note the budget there. It's just to note that budget for agencies is not changing. As noted, they'll continue to receive as many reimbursements as they're able to complete project-wise. Including this year, we've already exceeded what the low-income budget was. We continue to pay out those rebates. We are seeing projects coming in at a larger cost than we're used to. But it is seeing more therm savings. They are having more measures, so we'll continue to pay those out. And we hope to have a little bit more information after we meet with our agencies later today, and then follow up with any update there on revisions and acceptance, and then also whatever comes out of the stakeholder meetings as well. But we did want to make sure and give the CAG an update on what's going on with that weatherization incentive proposal. Once we finalize the meeting with the agencies and we're comfortable enough with any revisions that might come through on that proposal, we'll make sure to circle it back with the CAG and go our standard process of that 30-day feedback or open comment section. But that's really all we have for weatherization. So I'll pass it back to Kayla if there are any questions.
All right. Ooh, looks like we have one question from Shaylee.
Yeah, Shaylee.
Yeah, morning. I'm going to hop over to the all agency meeting when it starts at 10, which will be fine. But I think this is an interesting subject, and I'm glad it's primed in this space. I do have a couple things, though. I'm curious about the stakeholder meeting and what the timeline for that is. Is it in a matter of like a week or two, so that I can keep an eye on that for my calendar?
Yeah.
And then, oh yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'll let you answer that one.
No, you're fine. So yeah, we were waiting on today's meeting to kind of set that timeline. We do hope to have at least our filing ready for program implementation at least beginning of year if everything goes smoothly. So it has to happen fairly quickly after this agency meeting. So we would plan to be within the week, max 2 weeks for a stakeholder notification.
Okay. Why beginning of year, I guess, is my question. If this is a pretty big addition, or I mean, I understand that in the language it's kind of listed as a pilot, and pilots tend to have a specific parametered scale and kind of a specific set of things so that we can learn something from it. And I want us to, as we move forward in this process, make sure that we're able to learn in ways that are actually constructive to the whole network of everyone's ability to provide services and increase and ramp up. And I don't want to feel rushed in this process.
Mm-hmm.
This is a pretty big move. So I like to put it out there that I'm not sure why we're rushing to start this in January. I'm curious if you want to speak to that.
Yeah. So I guess our stance as a company is we've noted in the CARES referrals we've seen since, and these are the numbers just as of August, we've seen over 700 referrals for the weatherization incentive program. We have continued to send those referrals over to agencies. We haven't seen any of these customers served, and our concern is, one, from a customer standpoint, customer satisfaction, and the other from services themselves, is that these customers sent in inquiries, and we're nearing a year of these inquiries, and we haven't had any contact with them or served these customers. In that, one, being upsetting to the customers, and two, potentially losing opportunity there to serve these customers. I guess that's kind of our sense of urgency for making these changes and implementing this pilot to make sure that we're not leaving customers out well over a year into this. Of course, with that said, we would hope to have it in January, but if there's additional discussions and concerns that need to happen, that's all that timeline can, and we are willing to adjust that. But it is, we would like our target to be to start first a year, just due to the fact of the amount of referrals that we've seen, and it's already been about a year since these customers started with inquiries, and we have not been able to serve any of the customers.
Okay, thank you for that context. Yeah, I guess we'll talk more about what's the timeline you envision it being, especially since we're still kind of in the feedback process, and the who a third party is and what they do, if they're able to do something that's actually commensurate with what whole home weatherization is, if they're able to meet the standards, and if they have the expertise to work with the community that we serve in low income weatherization. I mean, I think there's a lot of unknowns there, and I definitely appreciate wanting to not lose out on customer opportunities to engage in the program. But those finer details are going to make or break whether or not people are getting a good service, and so they are important to spend the time on if needed.
Absolutely, we agree on that on all fronts, and I know we've had conversations too with the Department of Commerce and staff, especially on that, to make sure that we're not rushing through this, and we're also considering quality of work. It's not just quantity. We want to make sure that we are providing the same level of quality work that community action agencies are providing, and holding these contractors to the same standards. Of course, we haven't, throughout this year, we've noted in this pilot that we want to see this first year. That would still take time to recruit the third-party contractors. We have some research that we've done there, but we haven't started actual conversations there. So even with the notion that this pilot would hopefully start, January 1st, that also starts with, we need to start conversations with the contractors and recruitment there. Not necessarily that we'll start right away serving customer day one, because we haven't done the back end of that, since we still need to have these conversations with, the community action agencies and other stakeholders to make sure that we're all in agreement through this process.
Okay, thank you. And I will my final plug here is that we do have this concept has been tried, at least in part, by multiple different utilities, some in Washington and of course some outside. And there's some, I think Cascade's Oregon model seems to be successful. However, I have multiple examples of other utility models that were not successful in this endeavor. So that's why I'm concerned. And so that's sort of the basis for why I wanted to make sure to have a little bit of extra discussion on this morning.
Absolutely, and thank you for that, and look forward to continuing that conversation, and especially here as we jump over to our next meeting. And I will give space if there aren't any other questions. I'll pass it over to Caleb.
All right, great conversation all. We're going to keep moving. And of course, Noemi Ortiz is always available to be reached out to, ask any questions, etc. Great, now we're moving on to our portfolio update as is standard, and we'll start with the commercial program. I'll ask Brian if he's available to hop on and share some of the progress slides that we have.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you for having me, Caleb and team. You did get me on the safety moment there. I thought we were talking actual fishing safety for a second, so big salmon fisherman, as you know, so that was funny. Okay, so happy to cover the progress to goal here. So here's just kind of our comparison slide showing last year and this year. So you can see this time last year through the end of Q3, we were around 253,000 therms. And in 2024, we're 304,000 therms. So that pencils out to about 1.189 million, and then relative to 958,000 this year. And you can see our projected percentage to annual goal. That does include the forecast, so that is not just reflective of projects that are closed and measures that are closed, but that is also reflective of projects that are in process and are forecasted for the remainder of the year. So you can see we were at 81% to goal last year this time, and then this year we're at 125% to goal. So you can see the chart below just sort of shows our therms achieved in the dark green there, and then our pre-pipeline on the left there in the gray is the sort of the remainder of our forecasted projects, and then remaining to goal is the 47,833. So unless you have any questions, next slide, please. And Caleb, did we miss one, or did we miss that first? Was there a slide that showed the text that I had? If not, I can pull that up because there was a couple things I wanted to cover in that also.
Oh, I believe I have mine up here. If you could, Ryan, that'd be great.
Yeah, I have that here. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to cover the fact that that represented 128 therms there. And then I just wanted to point out a couple of the strategic customers that we worked with. One was in Eastern Washington, which was Local Bounty, really progressive indoor lettuce grower, very protective of their process also. So we had to sign an NDA to even enter the facility, but just a really impressive scale with their process and the amount of lettuce that they're pumping out there of their indoor facility. So I wanted to highlight that. Also working with some government facilities, I wanted to point out the Skagit County Facilities Department was one of our larger projects. And then the continuation of our Safeway store projects. So we had some refrigerated case store projects with Safeway that have represented a great deal of therm savings, and just another customer that I wanted to point out. And then I also just wanted to touch on some of our marketing activities. So we did place another ad in the Tri-Cities Journal of Business. That was highlighting our Fred Meyer roof insulation project, as well as Local IQ. And then we did do some bus ads for the first time, something that I myself am very excited about in addition to our marketing team. So I think it was actually a collaboration with the residential program. And I want to say the total was 52 bus ads that we ran that were all across Whatcom County. So really excited about that. And I think that we did do a custom link on that. So we're able to track if any of those people that viewed the bus ads, if they actually went to the website, we'll be able to track those numbers. So stay tuned on that when we're able to analyze that data and represent that for you. So we did also, the Fred Meyer case study went live, and that's something, especially with the $331,000 incentive, that we really want to highlight. So not only did we do an email blast to customers about that, we also did a video case study, and that is on Cascade's YouTube channel. And I believe that we also sent that out in the email blast also. So that was just something that was really cool. And our video team, the person that we hired, really did a great job with that. So something that we wanted to highlight for you. Okay, great. So this brings us to our year-to-date therms by measure type, or at least through the end of Q3. So kind of, let's see, insulation and boilers are typically some of our large therm saving measures. And then a lot of custom projects this year. So we have very high percentage of therm savings coming from heat recovery. So we always like to see that if we have waste heat and we're able to capture some of that. So we're excited about that. And then also DDC controls is another large therm savings measure, which kind of brings me to a collaboration that we're going to be doing with some other utilities, with Tacoma Power, Snohomish County PUD, Seattle City Light, and PSE. Cascade Natural Gas Commercial and Industrial Program was invited to participate in a in-person event at the end of the month. I think it's on the 30th. So they actually have, I want to say, 85 to 90 commercial controls contractors and ESCOs, and we're going to be representing the regional utility incentives to those, and we're going to be presenting. So I wanted to highlight that because I'm excited to be working with some of the other utilities, and they brought together a really great group of contractors. So we're talking the McKinstry, Schneider Electric, just some of the heavy hitters in the industry. So we will be reporting on that for our next quarterly update. So next slide, please. Okay, so our biennium progress. I think we're sitting around 65,000 therms to goal for our annual goal and 70 for our biennial goal. So we're really pushing hard in the end of the year, trying to meet those two goals, and you can see that represented here. On the top chart, you can see that we are tracking to goal. If everything sort of stays as it is now and our forecasted projects close, I think we are on track to hit our annual goal. Next slide, please. Okay, so this kind of just takes a look at the remaining pipeline projects for the rest of the year. So as you can see, a lot of school districts, and then we have the remaining Safeway projects, Safeway Hagen projects. So the Safeway are refrigerated case stores, and then for the school districts, it looks like we have some retro commissioning and some heat recovery projects. So a lot of those are through our technical manager, Bob. And so he's working hard just to make sure that those projects close by year end. That might be my last slide, so probably a good time to open it up for questions if anyone has any specific questions for the commercial industrial program. All right, if you do have any follow-up questions, you could let Caleb know and he could forward it over to me. So I really do appreciate you having. Thank you all for your time.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Brian. And
Thank you.
just compliments and kudos as well to Brian for taking over this program earlier this year. Just a fantastic job of transitioning, growing the program, getting these pipeline projects either started, completed, or building it up for the future. Just major compliments to Brian and his team. So thanks very much for being here this morning.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next, we have residential program highlights, and hopefully David's able to hop on the mic and share some of these highlights for us.
Absolutely. Good morning, everyone. Like I mentioned earlier, my name's David Pettit. I'm the Program Performance Analyst for Cascades program. I'm here to present the year-to-date residential results through Q3 of this year. And I think you will find that the results presented today are pretty consistent with the phenomenal results we've reported on thus far this year. Through Q3 of this year, we have saved 474,000 therms, which represents 111% of our annual therm savings goal. I believe in about late August, we actually surpassed our annual therm savings goal. So I just want to say congratulations to the program delivery team and everyone else that is responsible for this outstanding effort. In the same period in 2023, we achieved 450,000 therms for 89% of that year's annual therm savings. In 2024, we have paid $6.4 million in incentives on $5.5 million per our budget for 127% of our incentive budget. In the same period of last year, we paid $5.7 million for 121% of our budget. As I said earlier, we've achieved 474,000 therms thus far this year for a 5% increase over 2023. We've processed 6,100 measures, and we are currently at 51% of our biennial therm savings goal. We are currently at 123% of our 2024 BCP budget, which is inclusive of both incentives and administrative costs. And we've achieved a 78% direct benefit to consumer ratio. And just a reminder, that target is 60%. And this great result is primarily a result of the innovative point of sale program, which is allowing us to deliver value to our ratepayers like we really never have before. So great job, Stephanie Reed and everyone else that's responsible for administering that program. Just a reminder, all of these figures are preliminary and subject to a thorough year-end reconciliation.
Excellent. And as a reminder to those in the call, comparing 2024 and 2023 is fantastic. We should also remember that 2023 was a record year for the program. So it wasn't, say, a down year that we're comparing it to. It was a record year, which we're currently on pace and having really similar results too. So it's just phenomenal to see. I think next slide for you here, David.
Yeah, so this is just a graphic representation of our progress to the biennial goal. It should be noted that only 37% of the biennial timeframe has elapsed. So we're really setting ourselves up to be in a really good position to meet and possibly exceed our biennial goal through the end of 2025. So yeah, I just want to say thank you again to everyone that made this performance possible. And I will kick it back to Caleb.
All right. Any questions or conversations this group would like to have about the residential program? Not seeing anything. Okay. We're going to move on to perhaps what I'm most excited to talk about here today. It's an update to our home energy report pilot. As a background, during introductions, we had a handful of our folks from previously EnergyX, now Brilliant, who are going to be presenting these results. I see Alex just turned on his webcam, so I'll kick it over to you. Just as a backup, perhaps we've been sharing these slides here for over a year now, perhaps even closer to 2 years. So this is a long-term project, serious resource, both the economic as well as time investment by our team, as well as the EnergyX and Brilliant folks. And just overall, they've been a great partner for the program, both leading as well as assisting in our decision making. So I'm really happy to share these draft results today. And I'm sure Alex will have a great slide for it. But the whole point of this, what have we done? How has it gone? And help us think about the future. That's my request to this advisory group right now. So I'm going to kick over to Alex, and we've got maybe 10 or so slides here to share.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction, Caleb. It has been a while. The last time that we were here presenting was probably a little over a year ago. We were just getting the program started. As Caleb mentioned, it was a long time coming in terms of planning, and then even after we had the preliminary plan and the contract in place, there was a lot of setup required to run these programs. But we're here at the finish line. This program is evaluated by looking at customer usage, and so we're just now this month collecting some of the last customer usage files that we need to complete the evaluation. And what we're going to present here are not only the steps that we've taken to run the program, but also some of those preliminary results as we evaluate the last bills. Figured we'd start though by talking a little bit about who Brilliant is. We're a technology company operating in the utility and government energy efficiency space, and we'll talk a little bit more about who we are and what our mission is. We'll also do a quick review of what HER programs are, what they are in general, and specifically what we set out to accomplish here with Cascade. We'll talk about the key program stats. So what did we achieve throughout the program? It's not all just about the end results, the savings results that we achieve, but there's a bunch of other good information that comes out of running a program like this. We'll get into the savings results as well, and then as Caleb mentioned, we'll talk about next steps and recommendations, help you interpret these results. Next slide here. Brilliant. So who is Brilliant? We are a software as a service technology company. We operate in the utility and the government space, and we work with more than 100 utilities and partners all across North America and a few beyond. So we work everywhere from the Yukon territory all the way down to Texas in the south. We work from Washington State all the way to the East Coast. We also work in Guam, and we've done some work in Europe. And everywhere we go, we're really trying to do three big things through our technology offering. That's spark the interest or engage customers in opportunities they might not know about. Streamline the process, so make it easy for customers to educate themselves and participate in the opportunities that utilities like Cascade are providing. And then most importantly, probably see the progress, right? You should be able to use our software to manage programs, to bring customers all the way through to fulfillment, and even to start tabulating results. And the whole idea is that through fostering a deeper, more connected relationship with your customers, particularly residential customers, because there's so many of them and they can often be difficult to reach, you can actually turn them into true partners that help you achieve energy efficiency goals. And that's really what we're doing with these home energy report programs. So on the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more about what a home energy report program is designed to do. And primarily, it's designed to explain and drive actions that help customers manage energy. And these actions are supposed to be low cost, no cost actions. So it's things like adjusting your thermostat or managing appliance usage, things that you can do to change your behavior inside of a building that's going to result in energy efficiency or energy savings. And that's where the name that they're sometimes referred to as comes from. We often refer to these as behavioral programs because we're trying to get folks to change their behavior. The challenge, of course, is how do you measure that? And the way that we do it is by running these programs as a randomized control group study, where we have a group of participants that we're looking at that don't know they're participants. They don't receive home energy reports. We're just monitoring them as a control group. This is in case anything is happening in the market that might actually be causing the energy savings. We're going to see that in the control group, and we can look at differences between our treatment group, folks that actually do receive home energy reports throughout the course of the program, to discern whether or not it's the home energy reports that are causing the savings or maybe it's something else. If it's something else, we'll see those savings in the control group. If it's the reports themselves, then we'll see those savings uniquely in the treatment group. And these reports are designed to be timely, relevant, easy to understand, as I mentioned. We're giving people low cost, no cost tips that they can do to reduce energy usage. And we're also giving them a variety of other data points about their energy usage that helps them understand it at a deeper level and hopefully stimulates action. Customers that are in the treatment group, they received 6 personalized reports over the course of a year. And we did 2 styles of reports. One was delivered by mail, by the Postal Service, and they were paper reports, 1 page front and back. And the other 50% of the treatment group got a digital report. So they received an email and they got a PDF of the exact same style paper report, but they received it digitally. And as we'll look at on the next slide, these reports are designed to support a bunch of different learning styles or data styles, as I mentioned earlier. And again, we're just trying to target people with a bunch of information designed to help them manage their energy better. So on the next slide, we'll look at, it's a little bit of an eye chart, I guess, but if you zoom in, you'll see this is a totally fake report. So this is the exact style and layout and branding of the reports that customers receive, but all the data that you're seeing here is fake. It's example data. And this gives you an indication of what customers were receiving, either through paper or digital. At the very top, on the left page, that's the front page, we give them a quick introduction. We let them know that it's specifically for their home and there's a report date and version. And in case they ever have questions about this, they can call up customer support and we can pinpoint exactly what report they're talking about from when. We give them some high-level information about how much they can save potentially in their building, and that's based off of a data-based building property analysis that we did for everyone's building in advance of the project. One of the unique technologies that we bring to the table is a little bit of AI machine learning that can help estimate energy savings potential in buildings, and so we applied that here. We then gave people some personalized energy saving recommendations, things that they could do, low-cost, no-cost tips to help them reduce energy usage. At the top of the second page on the right side, we compared their usage this year with same time last year. Sometimes showing people year-over-year differences can help them to normalize usage or help them to change behavior and become more efficient or understand where they can save. And we continue in that vein in the middle of the second page where we talk about just different areas, what parts of someone's home or what parts of someone's energy usage are driving their bill the most and where can they save the most, providing them with some generalized information there. At the bottom of the report, there's ways that customers can get in contact with Cascade if they need customer support. And there's also opportunities to promote other programs that they may be running. So there's an example of the HER. Again, we sent out 6 of these to, at the end of the day, about 9,000 customers. Every report that they would get, so they got 6 reports, they were all different. They would change seasonally. They would change if information about their building or their usage came to light, we would update the reports. But there were 6 unique reports sent to all of the treatment group participants. So what did we get? What were the results? At a high level, as I mentioned, we targeted about 9,000 residential participants. All in all, we sent out close to 60,000 home energy report communications. Again, about half of them were paper-based and the other half were digital. Very, very low complaint rate or concern rate or issues raised. I think you can see that is a fraction a fraction of a percentage, an extremely low issue rate. I think we had less than 10 people reach out throughout the program, and they weren't all what I would say complaints. Some people had objections to simply participating in the program, and those were easy to accommodate. But all in all, a really phenomenal result in terms of outreach. I think later on, we'll look into perhaps sending customer surveys out to the program participants to see if we can get a better gauge on positive feedback and other feedback in general. But overall, a top performing program, at least from our experience in terms of positive customer response, or in this case, lack of concerns or issues. The bottom row of stats there, we've got a lot of the savings results that are already starting to come to light. And I want to focus on the number in the middle because that is the gas reduction across the entire treatment group. So as a result of being exposed to these reports, we saw a savings reduction of 0.35%, so 0.35% reduction in gas usage across the entire treatment group. But that doesn't really tell the whole story. We had some segments of the treatment group that significantly outperformed that. And the one I think I want to highlight here at this early stage in the presentation is our low consumption users. So we specifically looked at customers that are in the bottom 25% of annual gas consumption. And these customers saved phenomenally. As a result of the home energy reports, they saved close to 6% compared to the entire control group. And we'll dig into those results a little bit more because it's one of the most exciting sets of results that we got as a part of this program. The results are highly segmented. You've got really strong results with the 0.35% reduction across the entire treatment group, but there's lots of interesting results like that 6% that we're going to dig into next. The other thing that we want to highlight is that 75% in the bottom right corner there, really phenomenal stats for a digital campaign. And we'll dig into how well the digital aspect of this program went in some later slides as well. I see that there is a question. Caleb, is it okay if we take questions throughout the presentation, or do you want to save them till the end?
Absolutely. I think it's your preference, and right now seems like a great time.
Go ahead. Quinn?
Yes, Quinn Weber with Washington UTC. In terms of everything, is 0.35% statistically significant?
Yeah, it is, and we'll dig into that a little bit more and show you how we got to that number.
Okay, and what were the concerns about people being, obviously not a lot, like 10 people you said or something like that, wanted to just opt out of the program? Did they give a reason for that, or was it just, someone just
I would say they did. Yeah, they did give some reasons. I don't have them all in front of me, but I'll highlight at least one that kind of gives an indication. They were what we call very bespoke, customer specific type issues. One person called in because there was someone in their family who had mental health issues, and certain types of communications trigger that person's mental health issues, and so they asked to be removed from the program for those reasons. They were part of the paper report group, and the report that they received was problematic because of someone in their household. So they oftentimes weren't even specifically directed at the report content themselves. It was more unique household concerns where people felt that they weren't a good candidate for participation.
Understood. And I may have missed it. Were reports generated in other languages if you knew that you had primarily Spanish-speaking household, or primarily non-English speaking household?
For this program, we did not target customers where we knew that the household language was not English. And again, just because it was a small pilot, we wanted to keep things simple. However, these reports and this content can be translated into any language, so that's not a barrier for the future. It's just something that we didn't do in this pilot.
Understood. Thank you for answering my questions.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, great questions, Quinn. Any other questions from the group on these first handful of slides? Otherwise, I think Alex is going to share some of the more nitty-gritty, some of the data and the stats, which are really interesting for the group.
Absolutely.
All right, sounds like a great setup. If people in here.
Let's dig in. Let's drill down. First, we just want to talk about some of the descriptive stats. So all in all, I said we sent about 50% of the reports were sent digitally, 50% were sent by mail. I'm going to move quickly through these slides. If people have questions, we can stop and talk about it. But like I said earlier, really phenomenal result on the digital front. Just over 31,000 reports sent out, digital reports sent out via email. We were able to process all of those. It's one of the great things about digital. It works and you can track it really well. Average open rate of 75%. The peak open rate during the campaign was just over 90%. So that's the phenomenal engagement that you're getting with your customers. Average click-through rate was 11%. That's good on its own. But again, the program peaked out at just over 20%, which is, I mean, that's sort of like world class for getting customers to engage and interact with the content that you're providing them. We did some A/B testing throughout the campaign, looking at the content that we put in the email as well as the subject line. And interestingly enough, there wasn't a lot of variance there. Different subject lines didn't seem to significantly outperform one another. Your top performing subject line by a hair is this fairly vanilla one, which is your energy savings report. So that's what drove the most customers to interact with. But again, different iterations, some more complex, much fancier than that, performed about the same. So there's something about the Cascade brand and providing this type of information that customers certainly appreciate engaging with, especially from a digital perspective. Paper report stats. We had about 27,000, close to 28,000 paper reports sent out. In some cases, when we found that paper mail was not deliverable, we would move customers into the digital campaign. So we saw about a 0.4% shift from paper to digital per report cycle. Delivered almost all the paper, just less than 1% undeliverable rate, which sometimes happens. And the top undeliverable reasons, things you can't really do much about. Customers changing address with the Postal Service or leaving a vacancy or a vacation notice, so they weren't receiving mail. But these rates are pretty typical. All in all, paper from a logistics standpoint was a success. The paper went out, but I think again, I keep leaving some cliffhangers. We'll look at some of the segmented results deeper in the presentation, and you'll see why maybe digital is overwhelmingly the best choice for the Washington customers. Let's keep going. Preliminary savings results. So we already previewed this. Preliminary savings results, we saw 0.35% across the entire treatment group. What's typical? Well, typically, these types of behavioral programs run specifically for gas utilities, see savings ranging in the 0 to the 1.5% range. The top performing programs are going to deliver savings in the range of like 2 to 3%, and anything above that is really challenging, especially when you're doing it at scale. But it can happen. We saw some really exciting results in this program as well that we're going to talk more about. But that 0.35% resulted in about 18,500 therms saved. And then speaking to the statistical significance, we've got this at a confidence interval of 95%. Typically, these programs are evaluated at a 90% confidence interval, so we're actually able to get this at a slightly higher confidence interval. And then there are some results that we have an even higher confidence interval than that. So these results, we do consider them to be statistically significant, savings ranging from basically no savings or a neutral effect all the way up to a little bit higher than 0.8% across the treatment group. And your typical result, your average result, is 0.35%. But it's important to consider that these results are taken spread across the entire treatment group. And when we look into different segments of the treatment group, we're going to be looking for statistically significant results there as well, which from a pilot perspective are going to help us understand how we could even improve upon these results. And I think this is kind of where the results get really interesting. So if we go to the next slide, we're going to segment the treatment population into 3 groups. So we're not changing it. We're keeping everybody the same, but we're just saying, instead of looking at everybody all together, what happens if we start to look at different groups of people? And the first way that we segmented the population was by annual gas consumption. So we looked at their prior year of gas consumption and their gas consumption in this pilot, and we segmented the groups that use the least gas, the 25% at the bottom that use the least gas over the course of a year, the 50% in the middle, so your typical gas users, so to speak, and then the top 25%. The high gas users over the course of a year. And what we found is that, as I previewed earlier, the low consumption users and the mid consumption users saved tremendously. And actually, these reports appeared to have a negative impact on high consuming users. So people that were already consuming a lot of gas, these reports did not have any effect in helping them to save energy usage. And so when we look at the entire treatment group, actually the overconsumption of the high consuming users sort of overshadowed the excellent performance that we saw in the low and mid consumption groups. So if we look at this in terms of therms saved, the low and the mid consuming users saved over 110,000 therms, whereas the high consuming group ended up using an extra 90,000 therms. And so when you put that all together, you get that blended 0.35% savings rate. But I think what we should really be looking at here is how can we better understand the low consuming and the mid consuming users? Does this open up equity offerings that maybe these reports are particularly well suited to people of certain consumption, of certain demographics? There are other patterns that we can start to layer on top of this data and get a better sense of who these customers are and what might be driving that outsized performance. I think similarly or conversely, it's worth looking at the high consuming users and reevaluating the messaging and the reports altogether, because clearly the types of tips that we're providing to the high consuming users are not resonating on the order that they are with mid and low consuming users. Quinn, another question maybe?
Yeah, I noticed that you have this caveated in that everyone is measured against a control group.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that look like when you control for usage? Is it still the case that
the results actually get better? So what we mean by the caveat is that these percentages on the screen are compared to the performance of the entire control group. So we're not just comparing low consuming users to other low consuming users in the control group. We're comparing low consuming users to the average participant in the control group. If we compared low consumption users just to their low consuming counterparts in the control group, they achieved over a 12% savings difference. So that would indicate just like, I mean, really impressive savings on a like-to-like basis. Similar results with the mid-consuming users, and if you compare the high-consuming users just to the high consumers, they actually, I think, consumed a little bit more. So by comparing to the entire control group, these results are comparable to one another, and you can sort of see like 6% of savings compared to 6% of the usage by the low and the high-consuming users is roughly the same amount of therms. So that's about 90,000 therms per year. It's normalized. Does that help answer the question?
Yeah, it does. And then I guess this will be a question for when you actually do the evaluation. Is there other reasons why high consuming users might end up using more despite having the home energy reports?
Yeah, these are really good questions, and we try to be very careful when we start to talk about causation. We know that these reports are strongly correlated, statistically significantly correlated with this type of usage behavior by these different categories of users, but it's difficult to say exactly why. The statistics don't tell you why. And so I think that's why we're interested in doing follow-up surveys. We're interested in expanding or changing these groups in future studies and getting a better understanding of what might be driving this. And sometimes what we find, at least our working hypothesis now, is it comes down to motivation to take the behavioral tips. And this may be an indication that for whatever reason, high consuming users are not particularly motivated or sometimes they're in a situation where perhaps they are not able to make behavioral changes that would affect their gas consumption. Whereas the low consuming users certainly are. They, for whatever reason, are highly motivated to respond to the information in the report, and we can also discern that they are able to respond because we've seen a marked shift. We tend to associate that with usage patterns, economic conditions, sometimes other demographic factors that might predispose these customers. But these are really fortunate results, I would say. A lot of times we see the results are the other way around. The people that use the most are also able to save the most. Here in Washington, we didn't see that, and I think that opens up a lot of program opportunities in the future, particularly from an equity perspective.
Understood. And do you have like some idea of, is there a trend on who composes the high consumption group, or is it kind of just a mishmash of different people, places, areas, etc.?
Randomly. Sorry, go ahead.
Or did you try to normalize that in the study?
We focused on when we created the control group and the treatment group and the entire experimental population, we focused on pulling a random sample. So the sample, with few exceptions, one I already mentioned, we wanted to make sure that the primary language was English, but there really weren't too many criteria like that. So when we pulled the sample, it was random. We did descriptive analysis of the overall sample. We did a descriptive analysis of the control group and the treatment group, and we compared those back to the Cascade population at large because we want this to be representative, right? We don't want to cherry pick customers. We want this to be sort of a microcosm of the larger Cascade population. So that's kind of what you're seeing here. In that sense, though, there's no inherent bias that we know of that would have made these high consuming users particularly respond the way they did. We got more. We can keep going.
Yeah, and I'll just take a second just to give some space. This is fantastic conversations, a bunch of data we're sharing, and Alex, we're doing great on timing. So this is all fantastic. And also a reminder to those on the call, this is our opportunity to ask these great questions, think about next steps, what did we do, what didn't we do, to help us inform us for the future. And we have Leonardo, the data scientist, Brilliant on. We've got a bunch of other folks and some great executive leadership and thoughts with Brilliant on the call right now. So it's a great time to do so. All right, I'm going to keep moving on.
Yeah, the upside to these programs is that they're relatively simple, right? You're sending reports to people. The downside is that the evaluation and the understanding of these programs can be extremely technical and complicated. So thanks to everybody for bearing with me as we go through all these percentages and technical numbers here. Sort of as a follow-up, Quinn, to your last question, we did drill down in other areas. We wanted to see if maybe, positive results were consolidated in particular regions. One of the things that stood out dramatically is that right around the Cascade headquarters there in the central southern part of the state, sort of at the nexus of postal codes 993, 989, and 988, those were the areas that really performed the best. I shouldn't forget to mention 986. So there's something, again, what is it? We're not sure. Is it proximity to headquarters? Is it that particular part of the state? Is it something related to the types of customers that inhabit those places? They performed the best. The coastal regions and the area sort of up in 982, 983, those postal codes tend to perform the worst relatively. But again, all of these results are blended into the results that you saw in the previous slide. So this is just sort of slicing and dicing the data in a different way. There seems to be something about those South Central postal codes that tended to perform the best. Peak savings, I should say. I guess we should mention that's on the slide. Postal code or zip code 988, close to 8% savings, again, compared to the entire control group. However, this is a sparsely populated postal code, so not our favorite result, but definitely a standout over the program. And then maybe the last one we'll look at here. We wanted to compare the performance of just the paper versus the digital. And this, again, was another real shocker. We tend to see pretty even performance across paper and digital. But here in Washington, a 5x advantage with digital, meaning that the digital reports performed 500% better than the paper reports, leading you to the conclusion that in the future, I would almost recommend eliminating paper. You could continue to send paper if you wanted to, but it's not going to have a huge impact on the overall results. Washington customers across all segments appreciated the digital reports more than the paper reports. Again, a 5x advantage. So really a standout. We saw some great results from the digital reports early on in the presentation, and I think this is kind of the nail in the coffin when it comes to asking whether or not your customers are digital ready. If you are looking for a sign, this is it. They vastly, at least in this study, preferred the digital option. And maybe with that, we'll just sort of wrap up and open it up to other questions. Again, this was a really exciting program for us. It was a long time in the making. A lot of people on the Brilliant side put a lot of effort in, but I also want to call out a lot of people on the Cascade team put a tremendous amount of effort in. We involved the energy efficiency team, the IT team to make sure that we were pulling data securely and managing that properly. We involved the communications team to make sure that we were reaching out to folks, that they were also online to help us with some of that A/B testing, subject and content testing that we did, and providing insight throughout the entire process. Customer care was involved. They were trained in case we got a lot of customer feedback as a result of this. It turned out that the program, again, was quite easy to manage, and we didn't have hardly any issues that we had to deal with. But nonetheless, that's a lot of effort all across the board that went into making this happen. We sent out 60,000 communications to your customers. That's a tremendous feat in and of itself. And we're excited to see these results at the end of it. Overall, a good result overall on the treatment group, 0.35% savings. I think that's meaningful. And on the basis of that, you could scale and you could run a cost-effective program with about 25 to 50,000 participants in the treatment group. So in this pilot, again, we had about 9,000 participants in the treatment group. If you 3 to 5x that, there's a cost-effective program waiting for you based on these results. But we think it can get even better. We think that if you are willing to target and segment that population, maybe focusing on different groups, segmenting off high-consuming users and targeting them with specific messaging, looking for equity offerings, maybe targeting some specific messaging to your low-consuming groups because they seem to be really outsized performers in this type of a program, you could really boost the results. I mean, we're seeing almost a 20x difference between the average result and your top performing cohort. So really interesting stuff in there. And then, of course, last but not least, can't say it enough, digital is really doing the job for you here. So we think, beyond just investigating how you can expand digital reports, can you create a digital ecosystem that customers can participate in? Is there an opportunity for them to have an energy saving profile on a website where they can manage this stuff in between reports, get more relevant tips, really change the way that you've engaged your customers and perhaps stimulate even stronger performance and get more data about who really are your top performing cohorts? There's a lot of potential on the digital side, I think. And then last but not least, this is complex stuff. You don't have to just take my word for it. We're working with Cascade to make sure that they can get the data and the methodologies and analyze this all internally. And of course, we're going to encourage third-party evaluation as well. So we're here to make sure that you get the final report from us over the coming weeks and months, and also to facilitate that ongoing evaluation, because these are tremendously exciting results. They are definitely worth understanding fully. So thanks for the time, Caleb. If there's more questions, happy to stick around.
Great. Well, let's leave some space in the air for a couple seconds here. As folks are thinking about any questions, I just want to reiterate just the kudos to Alex, Nishant, the rest of the Brilliant folks for working with us over the last couple of years. The leadership, the education, thought experiments, it's just been fantastic. Overall, really happy clients as well as a happy participant in this pilot program. So thanks again for that. And as a reminder to the folks on the call in our advisory group, we're thinking about the next steps here, right? Alex has proposed a couple of them, some really intriguing ones, such as surveying to find out more, as well as introducing this into our official program in the future, are all on the table and really interesting. So if you have any thoughts or questions sent our way on how we can conduct those, let us know. We're really intrigued by it. Otherwise, I think we might not see any questions. I think we'll allow the opportunity for the Brilliant folks to move on with their day. And then we're about a little over an hour into the meeting. So I'm going to propose we take just a 5-minute little coffee, restroom break. And then we'll come back right around 10:15 a.m. Pacific time to finish up maybe 15 or so minutes of content. We're most of the way through the meeting here.
Thanks so much.
Okay. All right. We'll be back in 5 minutes for those that are returning. Okay. Welcome back all. We're at 10:15 Pacific time. So we're going to keep moving just through once again just a couple of shorter topics, maybe 10 or 15 minutes of content to remain. The first topic is an update on our 2025 Conservation Potential Assessment. I just got one slide here to summarize that work to date. And officially the work has kicked off for this potential assessment, which is fantastic. We are partnering once again with Applied Energy Group, AEG. We've partnered with AEG since I believe 2017 to conduct these studies, and they've been great partners. We've got similar parties and individuals that are working with the team. So I'm anticipating this process to be relatively straightforward, on time, on budget, all that great stuff. As a reminder, we're doing this pursuant to Section 3 of our Biennial Conservation Plan Conditions document, which you're welcome to look up if you choose under that UG document. And the goal is to establish both 10-year and 2-year conservation potential targets for our program for the future. In terms of what this study is going to do, as a reminder, it's hard to summarize. It's going to be about half a year worth of work with weekly meetings and interim emails and conversations going about. But from a really high level, we're going to be reviewing equipment stock, thinking about what is available, what's currently in our service territory, and what are the average install rates for those types of equipment in each homes, in each part of our service territory. So it does drill down pretty heavily like that. We also look at things like future technology, such as when new technology will be coming online in a certain year or at a certain rate. We look at building stock assumptions, and I think that's especially important for our commercial building stock. Commercial building stock, we segment down to, I believe, right around 8 different categories based on what type of a building and what type of product or service they're providing. We know they have different usage rates, different hours of operation, different standard customer rates going in and out. All those great things do impact our assumptions on energy usage and therefore the final energy savings potential. We'll also look at codes and standards, which in my opinion is extremely impactful, but also quite difficult. Codes and standards both for Washington specific as well as national. And it's not just the current looking, we're also going to be looking at forward looking, such as I believe, for example, the gas furnace standards in 2029 are anticipated to change pretty drastically. That's just an example of some of those things we'll be looking at. We'll be incorporating a building code expert that's with internal as well as some external resources. And once again, if anyone on this call has any other building code experts or people who look specifically at the futures for code and standards that would impact our program, please pass them along my way. I'd love to talk to them and learn more. We also look at unit energy saving assumptions for equipment. We'll be looking at how they're calculated. Do we look at it per unit? Or do we look at a per kBTU, for example? And how do we inform that study? Which data source do we go to? And in particular, we've just conducted a couple of rounds of EM and V, that's evaluation, measurement, and verification, where we do billing analysis, which is conducted based on actual bills and their usage, and then calculating how many therms are actually saved per unit by our customers in our service territory under a very recent timeline. So it's just the pinnacle of data, in my opinion. In terms of timeline for us here, we'll keep it updated in the CAG. I anticipate providing updates most likely with AEG during our next 2 quarterly meetings, likely in January as well as April of next year. We'll have a draft of that document by the 1st of May, and then we'll be filing that in a new docket as required by the 1st of June of next year. And all those timelines look to be hit. Welcome any questions or comments on this. Otherwise, we're going to move on to a really fun topic, which is our outreach strategy update. And I'll let Wandy, if he's available, take the mic and share some of our strategies going forward and what we're looking at right now.
Alrighty. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. If I have to mute my mic, I'm fighting a cough, so I'm still here. I'm fighting through it. Alrighty. So we're going to talk about outreach in Q4 today for our energy efficiency program. This is our agenda. We're going to briefly talk about our engagement strategy, what that has been in the past, and what that looks like moving forward. Specifically, we're trying to motivate customers towards taking energy efficient actions. And then we'll talk briefly about a bus outreach campaign that we partnered with the commercial team to complete. This was something new to us, and this is something that we we are interested in doing more of moving forward. And then also our multifamily success, talk more about that as well. We want to try and replicate that. And then we'll speak on digital focus. That's something that the Brilliant team touched on, and that's something that I'm going to touch on a bit as well. So first off, with our customer engagement strategy, in the past and even now, our main focus has been to raise awareness, and that's been through kind of educating people about energy efficiency, what it is, and what that looks like on the day-to-day. And that's something that's extremely important to getting results, as we just learned from that Brilliant report. And I think moving forward, another thing we want to do is help people take action. We can raise awareness and we can help motivate people to take action through specific materials. So that's part of the strategy moving forward, is combining these two aspects, awareness and motivation. And with these two points here, we can help drive results. And that's something that we did a little bit of earlier this year. And in Q4, we plan on doing more of it. And then 2025, more of it as well. Does anyone have any questions on that? No? Beautiful. All right. So then this is the bus outreach campaign. The duration and the location was in Bellingham, Washington. And it just recently concluded. It was about a month long. And I believe we had a total of 18 tail ads. And as you can see there in the top right corner, that's what a tail ad is. And on the bottom of that image there, you can see what our actual graphics or designs were. And so this is something that, like I said, we worked alongside the commercial team to get done. And what we did here with the awareness aspect is we called out the fact that, hey, you know, there's cashback rebates. And we wanted to pose a question to help people take action. And if you notice there, it says ready to save with cashback rebates. There's the question. And then there's a call to action. We want to help the customer take action and take our quiz to see what they qualify for. And so on the next slide here, you can see what that quiz looked like. And this is something that we tried or implemented in the low income side of things in the past, and it had really good results, and people seem to like it. So we wanted to try it out in the residential side of things. And this is something that I think we can use more of moving forward, because like I said, we hit that awareness point, and then we're also guiding people to take action here. So this is what the quiz looked like. After the customer would type in the link, cngc.com/quiz, they'd be forwarded to this link, to this quiz, and they'd fill it out. There's about 4 or 5 questions. And then the idea is now we have a list that we can reach out to and help them take more energy efficient actions. Does anyone have any questions on the quiz or anything there? No? Beautiful. Alrighty, and then we have the multifamily project. This was the Chapel Hill project. This is something that our team, Stephanie and Sheila and the rest of the team played a really big part in helping this come to life. This is the largest or first successful large multifamily project completed, and it saved 17,000 therms, and that looked like almost $200,000 of savings for the property owner. And that's something that we want to replicate. This isn't something that we just want to hope that it happens, right? We want to find a way to make it happen again. And the method of doing that is by creating case studies, both physical and video. This is something that we're currently working on. As you can see here on the right, this is a draft of that physical case study. And right now, I've been working with David to get more of the data behind specific zip code specific properties that would fit into a multifamily home like a potential project. And once we have this list, and once we have our case study and our assets ready, we're planning to do some targeted outreach there. And we want to, like I said earlier, we want to create a system that is perpetual, right? We want to, we kind of call them unicorn projects, but we want to kind of automate the unicorns to keep on. We want to turn the unicorn into just a regular occurrence. So hopefully that makes sense. Is there any questions there?
Yeah, it's a great way to say this. We want to keep adding these multifamily projects to our portfolio. And Wendy said it great. This is not just a, send one thing out, hope they come in. Working with the team to develop procedures and manuals to how to conduct these case studies, how to actually reach out to these either property owners or the residents in these multifamilies, as well as trying to engage with contractors and other different avenues of how we can grow this part of the program. And the appeal of it, it's pretty obvious in my opinion. You can see in this draft that we have, about 75% of the project costs were saved through rebates. That's incredible. That's an eye grabber, it's a attention getter. It's just a fantastic offering that we have, and we want more and more people to take us up on it and help us reach our therm savings goal for the year and help improve the residents' life, their building values, all those other great things that come along with improving the property.
Yep, Caleb's 100% right, 200% right. And then we have our digital strategy for 2025. The reason we want to focus on this, obviously on top of the fact that Brilliant gave us that data today, that it was 5 times more engaged with, which is fantastic. But for my thinking, digital is easily scalable. It's kind of hard to scale physical things, right? There's only a certain amount of people that can be reached with a voice, or can be reached with with one person, right? But the great thing about digital is you can click a button and reach thousands of people instantly, which I think is almost a superpower. And it's also very effective, right? There's a lot of targeting and filtering that's available nowadays, where you can go in and specifically try and target demographics that align with what we're looking for. And then obviously it's trackable as well. That's another obstacle with sometimes physical things. It's hard to track, and obviously there's everything doesn't need to be tracked, but if you can track it, you can optimize it and you can improve upon it. So that's another reason why moving forward we're going to try and implement more digital methods into our strategy. And that's not to say that we're not going to do physical things, because we're physical, we're human beings, right? So it's more of trying to add that component than have it take over, if that makes sense. Is there any questions around that? No? Beautiful. And then I guess the last slide here is, are there any suggestions in regards to outreach for Q4 of this year, or for 2025? Now would be the time to let me know. All righty. Thank you. Thank you, Caleb.
Yeah, fantastic, Wandy. And of course, if anyone has any other suggestions, or you saw this and thought it could be a good opportunity for us, or any people or companies to partner with for some of these new digital strategies and growth opportunities, send them our way. We'd love to speak with them and learn more about that opportunity there. And Wandy said it great at the end there. This is not saying we're going to be shifting only towards digital. We recognize that not everyone has access or desire to look at digital media, digital content. So we'll be continuing our physical and print, as well as in-person outreach opportunities. This is just a more scalable way for us to keep growing our outreach, because our therm savings goals are growing and they are becoming more and more difficult to achieve. So this is one way where we're trying to make sure we're capturing as many therms that are available out there. Okay. And we're wrapping up the meeting with just another update on a very big project, which I only have one slide dedicated towards, but there is a lot that goes into this process. So as a reminder, Cascade has been using rebate processing software that's through Resource Innovation for the last handful of years with the program. That is going to be ending. We're migrating towards an internal solution called the Enterprise Rebate Application, or ERA. I want to extenuate that the work through this has continued throughout the summer. some items, and once again, this is not everything, things like procedure mapping, building out and thinking through the contractor central portal, data warehousing, how it's stored and how it'll be secured and how it'll be connected to our billing and customer database. Thinking about the processing efficiency and our logics around how to conduct that, as well as thinking about our program reporting, both for backwards looking data as well as building up reports to help influence our future outlook. And I can't reiterate that one slide is not enough to justify how much work and time is going to be going into this project and has been going into this project. It's a huge hurdle, but we do believe there'll be plenty of benefit to justify that in the future. So kudos once again to our processing team and to our corporate power partners, as well as I believe Sony was on the call a minute ago with EIT, working through a lot of these projects here. We'll be continuing this over the next coming months, practicing and demoing the software, doing UATs to test out, does the rebate work? Does it calculate correctly? Is it stored correctly in the software? And also how our customers and the public, including our contractors, will engage with the program, making sure that is all built out well. We're anticipating a launch date of the first of the year, and we'll keep the group aware of that, especially at the January meeting with how that's gone and any other educations we provided to our partners in order to use this software. Okay, and that's actually the last topic for this meeting here. So I just got a closing slide. As a reminder, this is the last meeting of the year, Q4. I believe Des, after this meeting, in the next couple of days, will likely to be distributing meeting invitations for 2025. We'll plan on sticking to very similar times and dates, right around the third Wednesday or so of each quarterly month, being January, April, July, and October. And my last call to action, another request to this group here, help us think of additions for 2025. Who should we incorporate in this group to make it stronger? Who previously was a part of it perhaps that is no longer part of it that we should re-engage with? All these things are great for us. To be candid, it takes quite a bit of time and energy and effort to have these advisory group meetings, prepare for them, and gather all the content. So we want to make them as valuable and informative as possible. So help us out with that. That's my specific request. You can always reach me at caleb.reimer@cngc.com or any other method you prefer. And as a reminder, these meetings are recorded, and Des gets them up on our website, usually in a week or two afterwards, and the links in the agenda if anyone would like to view those in the future. Okay, that's the last slide. If there's any closing comments, feel free to turn on your mic and share them. Otherwise, just wish everyone an excellent rest of their Wednesday. We finished right on time here, and look forward to finishing out the year strong with the rest of the team.
Yes, I just wanted to mention, once I send out the invites for the 2025 meetings, feel free to forward it if you think it would be interesting or a good idea to have someone. So you're more than welcome to forward those invitations to anyone that you feel would benefit from these meetings.
Excellent, agreed. All right, we'll close out. Have a great day, y'all.